You are now live. Okay.
Hello, Modern Skeps fam. You're here for our first ever bookgram review. You're here with Malek and Mariam from the Modern Skeptics.
Hey everyone.
So today's first book that we're going to discuss is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. It's supposed to be kind of like a thriller, suspenseful. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller. That's why we were kind of excited to read it. And it's also supposed to be coming out as a movie soon.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty cool.
Okay, I'm gonna be looking down at my phone to read your comments. Just so you know, I'm just not being weird. But we're really excited because this was the first book we chose for everybody. And I think we should start off by saying what our rating was for it.
Yes, agreed.
So, how we're gonna decide the rating works like this. We're gonna give it a 1 for it's garbage. I hate myself for reading this and wasting my life on it. And 5 is, wow, how did I not get this book before? And I love it so much and everybody needs to read it. So, on that scale, what do you give it?
I think it was like a 2.5.
Wow, you were harsher than me. I gave it a 3. I gave it a solid 3.
No, I was not. I mean, there were parts of the story that were interesting, but honestly, it took me a few days. Usually, I'm an avid reader. Like, I've always read, and I love to read. So, usually, if I'm interested in a book, I'm the type of person that would kind of like finish it in a day or two. But this book kind of dragged for me.
It
took me 3 or 4
so
days.
much.
Now, honestly, even longer than that. Like, I would put it down and not go back for a few days and come back.
It definitely did not pick up for a really long time. Like, I had to
Yeah.
force myself to read it, and I don't know if it's because I had to read it for the Modern Skeptics if I would have finished it. Because the ending was the best part about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole book is about 430 pages. The first 200 were so long, so excessively descriptive. I didn't think there was really a point to them at all, honestly. Like, it could have all been brought in maybe to like 50 pages.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been dragged out enough.
And I'm sorry if I had to read one more scene about this lady getting drunk and then taking her pills and knocking out. I did not like the protagonist in here. Like, I did not like our main character.
Yeah, so a quick synopsis of the book, if you didn't already watch or listen to us when we originally dropped the name of the book, is about a child psychologist, and she's agoraphobic, which means she can't be really in crowds or go out in open spaces.
I had to look that up.
Yeah. And that actually happened to her in result of a traumatic event, which you don't know about until much later in the book. Like, everything that was climatic in this novel took place in the last 100 pages, maybe.
Although, I will say that you can guess a lot of this book.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Like, Ethan, who ended up being the murderer.
Spoiler alert, there will be lots of spoilers.
Well, it's not a spoiler since you're supposed to be reading it anyway.
Okay, I guess.
I could tell he was the second he was introduced.
Yeah.
I'm like, because he's too good. He's too good.
And you know what? The author alluded to the creepiness of the child way too often. Like, they kept noticing, like, oh, he doesn't make eye contact, or he's randomly crying, or he's randomly visiting his neighbor. So there was just too many that at the beginning I was like, oh, for sure. He was the murderer. The only time she threw me off of that was at the end when she found that final piece of evidence and she brought him to explain to him. And I was like, oh my god, he's gonna kill her. And then he made up the whole story about how his adoptive mom could have done it. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, maybe.
No, that was at that point. I'm like, he's a liar. He's a bold-faced liar.
Really?
Yeah, I hated it so much. The irony was, she's a child psychologist.
Yeah.
The murderer is a child. Like, you would think she would know.
Well, at the end when it kind of comes out and he comes to her and he's like, diagnose me. And then it's like, oh, she suddenly knew all this stuff about him.
Clearly, she wasn't good at her job in the first place.
Yeah, it was actually funny because the stuff that she was saying, like sociopath tendencies, where it's like, oh, murder animals when you're young, like into being involved in that gruesome stuff. I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my god, yeah, she's so right. And I act like I know what I'm talking about, but it's like from knowledge from watching Criminal Minds, where I'm like, yeah, they say the same stuff about their characters, so it must be true about sociopaths.
Sunna Living said, I was okay with all of it up until the final piece where the meeting happened, and then after I was rolling my eyes. And that's so true. I was rolling my eyes, honestly, throughout the whole book. She reminds me of, like, your friend that you always give advice to, and then they just don't listen. Like, that. There was one part of the book, and she's like, okay, I need a clear head to figure this out. I'm not going to get drunk today. And then, like, 2 seconds later, she gets drunk, and I'm like...
And she's like, I'm on my 3rd cup of wine or something like that.
Cup? Bottle, dude. She was drinking it by the bottles.
And it's so ironic that they had a doctor overdosing and drinking alcohol with her meds.
Yeah.
You know, doctors are... She's like, I know I'm not supposed to do this. It will cause hallucinations, but I will do it anyway.
Dude,
so.
I hated the whole murder part.
Like her murder scene? Or
yeah,
like
the actual girl. I was like, what happened? She was killed in half a page.
Oh, like Jane.
Yeah, Jane died.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, did she even die? Like, I had to go back and reread it because
it
happened
was so
abrupt.
Quickly. Yeah, it was so quickly. But, I don't know, it was just interesting. For me, I think the most interesting part of the novel was when her, like the part I felt like most exhilarated or like I was actually like interested in really deeply was the fact that she had a mental illness and then she witnessed the murder, but they made her believe that what she saw wasn't real.
Yeah.
That was so trippy to me.
That's always creepy when your mind plays tricks on you because you know that realistically happens.
Yeah, because after they said, they came up. First of all, I definitely had vibes that her husband and her daughter were dead.
I have a voice recording of me saying, they're dead, they died in the car accident, and she was cheating on her husband. Before it ever happened, so I'm so proud of myself.
I didn't know the cheating thing, but I was like, because after she was telling the story of her and her husband were supposed to separate, I was like, there's no way that a couple's supposed to separate and they speak that often on the phone, or they have that kind of relationship. Like, you never meet a separated couple that, like, really likes each other, is really involved in each other's lives. And she would say, like, oh, I wish you were here, and he's like, yeah, I wish we were with you.
Yeah, it seemed like they were separated because of her phobia.
Exactly.
But then later it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, I did not like her. I know that. And going into that, I knew that they were going to say that her kid and husband were dead, and that she believed that they were alive, because that's how they were going to get us to not believe her.
I really, after they started listing that stuff, I did have a little doubt.
Really?
Because I was like, wow, they're dead. And she was just seeing all these things. She really is off her meds. I thought that was going to be the twist of the book.
No.
Like a mystery novel, and it never happened.
Honestly, I feel like that would have been better than the ending we got. If she actually was making all this up, that would have been better than the ending that we got.
It's funny because I was like, this is going to get better. It's going to get better. They're making a movie about this. Like, it has to... I can't imagine the movie's going to be similar to the book at all. Because it has to have so much more climax in order for it to be interesting.
I never, ever say this, but I think this would be better as a movie than it ever was as a book. Like, I can see it being a good movie that you want to go and it's, like, suspenseful and you're curious. But as a book, it just... The little details were draggy.
Yeah, and it wasn't... They weren't good details that the author was using, I think. Like, they continuously focused on the fact that she was a drunk and she was taking too many pills. And I understood that because they wanted to create that storyline of, oh, she could be crazy and hallucinating. But it was just constantly, like, woke up, drank, took pills, went to sleep. Woke up, drank, took pills, went to sleep. Like, there wasn't really much going on. I'm telling you, the book easily could have been, like, 50 pages shorter.
But it had potential. This book had potential. Like, it's like, it could have been good if you didn't do 90% of the things that you did.
Yeah.
Which is shocking that, like, Stephen King and all these good authors, like, you can't put it down. No, I did, like, 1,000 times.
I was actually kind of iffy about reading this book because I personally hate, like, scary movies and stuff. So I was like, because I was like, books are even scarier because you have to imagine it yourself.
No.
So I don't prefer to read, like, thrillers and stuff. I try to avoid, like, murder mysteries. Even though a few of the books I borrowed from you were murder mysteries. So I did think that this book was going to give me, like, the heebie-jeebies, kind of.
No.
I'm not gonna lie.
There was only one point that happened. And it was when she woke up and she's like, but how can Ethan do this? And then all of a sudden he's at the door and he's like, I watch you sleep every night. Yeah. And I was in my bedroom alone reading this at like 3 a.m. And when he said that, I actually had to turn my lights on and like circumnavigate my room to make sure that there was no murderer in it.
Yeah, it did get kind of creepy at the end. Or when she's like, oh, my cat is limping. I swear, after she, like, we figured, after I knew it was Ethan, everything else made complete sense. I'm like, this guy broke the cat's flag because he's a sociopath, and that's what sociopaths do. And then when he came out that he murdered his biological mother, like, it was just one thing after the other. And then I felt more for the father.
That
Alistair.
was the one thing I didn't guess. That he was adopted.
Yeah, I didn't
get that, yeah.
Because then we wouldn't have known. I guess if you would have known that, it would have been easier to make that connection. Like, why they would want to kill Jane is because she's trying to take back her son. Because the murderer, I guess, in the story is adopted by the neighbors. So it's his biological mother that gets murdered, and it ended up being him that murdered her. Plot twist. But, so the fact that they didn't give away that he was adopted was a good ending. Like, it was a proper ending.
I know. Okay, so people agree with us that Ethan watching her every night was creepy. That's agreed. So I'm glad that other people also had a concerning problem with it. But another thing, I felt like a lot of the side characters were useless. Like her physical therapist, or her psychiatrist, or even her tenant. Like, they didn't really add to the story in any major significant way.
I think they were just to construct her life, kind of. Like, to show that she does daily things. Like, she's both in reality and out of reality, I think.
Was it?
But the tenant was, once they said he was, like, in prison.
No, then
I was like, what?
No. When they said he was in prison, I took him off my list immediately. I was like, he's too obvious. Him and the dad are too obvious to be the actual murderers.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that. Honestly, from the get-go, I kind of vibed Ethan. Like, I really did. After they introduced him, like, the first 2 times or something, I kind of vibed that it was him.
After he was like,
creepy.
I don't have internet, I don't go on, like, Facebook or social media, but every time she's looking in his window, this guy's on a computer. So I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But he...
Oh, yeah, why did we not mention, our character's a peeping Tom. Did no one have a problem with this?
Oh, yeah, with her Nokia camera.
Yeah, her tenant character had so much potential and then just disappeared. He could have played a bigger role. I 180% agree. They could have at least made it seem like he was more realistic of the murderer. Because I was between him and Ethan, but, like, solidified Ethan right after they said that he went to jail. Because I was like, no way is he going to go to jail and then be the murderer. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, so,
Wait, do you have a problem with her being a peeping Tom?
I mean, it's problematic that your neighbor's a peeping Tom, for sure. But I felt like I wasn't as surprised because she just lives at home all day, every day alone. Like, it didn't catch me off guard once I knew that she wasn't allowed out in spaces. Because I'm like, what does she do all day? She was doing the most random things. She was playing games of chess all day. She had, like, a French class. She was giving advice to other people that were sick. Like, she's not in a position to be giving other people sound advice on their situation. And she was.
I have a fear of my neighbors looking through my window, and that's why I live in constant darkness. So all this did was solidify that in my brain, and now I just refuse to ever have the windows open. Because she's so creepy.
Yeah. No, it was creepy. And the fact that she looked through the lens of her camera. Like, she zoomed. Like, she wasn't just watching. She wanted to look into the details. She wanted to be involved in their life. It's actually very funny because... It's not funny, actually. It's very creepy. But she was constructing a life for them through the window, too. Like,
but
that's what she was doing with her
we do
time.
that all the time?
Like,
with,
people
like,
read?
celebrities and just, like, looking like you have a connection with them because you think that you know them?
But that's a different level, because oftentimes
she's crazy.
No, when you're thinking of celebrities, though, and stuff, it's information that they put out into the world.
No, sometimes
Like,
you assume, like, things about people's character. Even not celebrities, just random people that you don't really know, but you, like, kind of know them. So you make up a backstory for them, or, like, you give them personality traits that they don't really have.
I think to an extent, you do. Like, you can't help but when you see somebody form an opinion or, like, assume what they're doing, but... Nothing like that level of creepiness. Okay,
Suna Living said that her most favorite part was the fact that she was a peeping Tom. That's
what
funny.
Is it?
Her favorite part was the fact that she was a peeping Tom. That's hilarious.
This is so funny.
She said it gives her, like, depth.
Karens are peepers, someone said.
That's true.
Suna Living, A Gift of Fear book talks about the psychopathic celebrity stalkers. They are totally on a different level than agoraphobic ones. Wow, we didn't even know that was a book.
Now we know. But hold on. Someone asked about the affair. I kind of skimmed that earlier. Someone asked if we knew about the affair or what do you think about her cheating on her husband.
So I didn't think that. I'm not gonna lie. I assumed that they were separating because her husband couldn't deal with her sickness. Like I did not see affair out of anywhere until the part where they were vacationing, and she's like, he's calling, and I was like, oh, no, she's one of those.
I knew she had an affair with her coworker, because if you read over the way she describes her coworker, that's not how you describe your like coworker friend. That's how you describe someone you're more intimate with, or that like you have a personal relationship, or you're watching them in a romantic way.
Yeah, I honestly didn't pay attention to her description of him.
Yeah, but she's like, and he had one foot over the other with his cigarette like flailing, and his like smile and smell, like it was weird characteristics.
Well,
like,
I thought she was generally, like I thought she had those characteristics, or she viewed people as like that, because I thought she was born with agoraphobia.
Oh, okay.
Like I thought she had a different way of thinking because she was born with this illness. I didn't know it was from the traumatic scene until later on. And then it made sense, and I was like, okay, yeah, she was like a little weird. But it's funny because somebody else left a comment, random comment. She was asking about our hijabs.
Our hijabs?
Yeah. I actually got my hijab, I think, from Hijab Souk. So, Fatun, that's where I got my hijab from.
If you're asking about mine, Walmart. They have a nice section. What did you think about the online internet situation?
What do you mean?
That shit. Well, there's 2 points I wanted to talk about with that. Where there was a community for her, like, to speak about her issues with online. I actually really liked that part of the book, where she was able to go and connect to other people that had the same kind of, I don't know if it's issues or same types of fears and concerns, and were dealing with the same type of things she was dealing with, that she had an outlet to communicate with those people.
Yeah, like
I did like that part of the book.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think you can, usually these days, at least on social media, I think there's a platform for almost anything. Like, I think you can seek out help for almost anything. But it was very problematic that she was giving out advice. Yeah. I'm like, you're not in a state to be giving out advice. And they were referring to her as Dr. Anna.
Yeah. Which is funny, because on the internet, you don't know who anybody is. Like,
yeah, she said one of them outed her.
Yeah, the grandma ended up being Ethan.
Oh, that I didn't see coming.
I did. I was like, no. I didn't think it was Ethan. I was like, this is somebody who's a creeper on her now.
Really? Yeah. I did not see that coming. I was like, oh, this old lady, like, she also has fear. And then he's like, that was me. You gave me your password. I'm like, what? When? When did she give you her? I was so confused. So I guess in the sense that there was, like, crime scene there, was, I guess it was good. Like, the book was good in that aspect that they did have a good storyline. I just think it wasn't as well written as it could have been.
Someone's like, wasn't she an actual psychologist? Yeah, she was an actual psychologist, but they don't know that. Like, if I just go online and put Dr. Medium, I mean, I am a doctor, got my JD. Does that count? No, it doesn't count.
Doctor of Law.
Doctor of Law. But anyway, yeah, anybody could put they're a doctor, or they're a social worker, or they're a teacher. Like, you aren't fact-checking them, and they don't have any type of, like,
you don't know if their credentials are actually relevant.
And anyone could like lie to you, but these people were dependent on her. That was kind of iffy, but I did like the fact that she had a space that she could communicate with people that didn't look at her as weird, but looked at her like, I understand what you're going through, and I'm going through this too, and let's share our like experiences and our trauma to get through this together, and like get outside one step at a time.
Yeah. And then I also felt that it was a little weird that her doctor was so hands off.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, I don't feel like seeing you for like days straight, and nobody checked in.
It's not like you can force somebody. Yeah. She wasn't a ward.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I felt really bad for the detective. He was so sweet. He tried so hard to give her benefit of the doubt. And he was like, I understand, like, this is hard. And then he broke the news to her that, you know, like, she's like, it was the first time someone had actually voiced that my husband and my daughter were dead. And I was like, that's so sad.
Yeah, that was... I mean...
Like, she wasn't able to come to terms with it for so long.
I had a really hard time being empathetic with this...
lady?
Yeah. So no, like, she literally reminded me of the friend that you're just like, man, why am I friends with you? Because
like, you're just together.
Like... No, not get it together. I understood her issues. And not issues... I hate saying the word issues. But I understood what she was going through. But she wasn't making any genuine strides to fix herself, even after witnessing a murder.
I mean, I don't know. In cases like she had so much trauma. She was the reason her husband and her daughter died. Like, I can't imagine.
When they described how she had to watch them die for
days,
2 days and freeze to death.
And her daughter was still alive.
Yeah, okay,
when the ambulance had come.
I felt bad.
Yeah, okay. So, like, you never know.
But then again, she caused the car accident. So, like...
She drove off the cliff.
I knew they were going to die in a car accident because they alluded to this winter storm. Don't go out in the storm. Nobody goes out in a storm, not even the locals. And then the stupid receptionist, when she's like, do you think we should go out in the storm, receptionist? And the receptionist's like, yeah, go. Drive out in the storm. It's fine.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I do agree with the comment, though. The doctor was useless. I 100% agree. That doctor was way too hands-off for her. I mean, maybe he figured that she's a psychologist. She should know better. But just generally speaking, in the healthcare field...
But do you think that's how it works in reality?
I don't know.
Like, if I don't want to see you, unless you're in a psych ward, can I force you to see me? No. And if I ask you, hey, are you taking drugs?
But the thing is, doctors shouldn't be, like, refilling medicines and stuff without you coming in. You know what I'm saying? True. Like, he should have said, okay, well, if you need a refill. Like, at one point, he was telling her, okay, did you refill your medications? Like, without having seen her.
Yeah.
So, like, that could be an incentive to have...
No, he did see her, though. Before he refilled her medications, he seen her in the library, remember? But she didn't tell him all the problems. I do remember him seeing her once, and then after the whole trauma with the murder and everything, she hadn't seen. She kept blowing him off. Yeah, and the physical therapist was honestly such a, like, I don't even.
She like slept over. That was so random.
She was so weird. Like, no one's physical therapist sleeps over, but
yeah, I don't know. That one was a little weird.
What did you think about the tenant and her
sleeping together?
No, not sleeping together. My question, like, what did you think about the tenant's role in the whole story?
I mean, he was just there.
He was? Okay.
Like, I didn't feel like he played, like, a crucial role, and he didn't, like,
I feel like he could have.
Just there.
He could have. His role could have been so good and so confusing
to the
characters.
That could have, like, his role could have been significant if he would have connected the dots for her that Jane was the lady he had over that night.
Yeah. No, I guessed that Jane was the lady
But I'm saying for the main character.
But he didn't know.
For Anna. Yeah, I'm saying that could have probably been where he would have played the most important role in the story.
Someone's like, useless, kind of. So I'm glad we all agree that 90% of these supporting characters added no benefit to the story. But one thing that I think should have happened was he should have stayed all the way till the end. And he should have... I would have loved it if he would have confused us more by actually being there in the house when the scream did happen. And being able to play it off like he was more shady.
Oh, in the neighbor's house?
Yeah, like he could have been a lot more shadier than he was.
Oh, like played a more, like confusing role.
Yeah.
Like to throw readers off.
Agreed.
Here's one thing that I felt like I was at a disadvantage of. When she kept referencing those old time movies she would watch, I'm like, I don't know any of these movies. I don't get any of her references. Like,
I didn't either.
Any of these black and white.
No, I did not get.
Yeah, I didn't get any of them. And I was like, maybe, like, I'm too young to understand. But I was like, I don't.
I got 3 years on you, and I got nothing.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the movies either.
What do you think about a female character being written by a male author?
I think for the most part, it didn't like take away from the story. Like, I didn't feel like she wasn't portrayed properly or something because it was a male writer.
Okay, I didn't even know it was a male writer. I assumed it was a female writer.
Really?
Yeah, up until I seen the picture at the end. Actually, 2 minutes ago, before we started this live, I was like, huh, you're a guy.
Really? No, I knew he was a guy.
So, that I don't think that's skewed. A lot of people sometimes have problems with authors writing in a different scope. Like, they don't get them in detail, but I think he did a fine job at that.
Honestly, I'm kind of concerned that this is what it takes to be a #1 New York Times bestseller. I used to have higher expectations for that list.
This was bad.
Yeah. And even for Stephen King to say totally original, remarkable.
Someone's like, just learned he was a male. Me too, see?
We're all learning.
No, none of us looked at the back page picture. We were just happy the book was over and wanted to put it down.
Yeah, honestly, I was kind of glad when it came to an end. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty disappointed with the outcome of this book, but I mean, at least I could say I read it. And at least we can go watch the movie, and then we can drop a video on what we thought about the movie in comparison to the book.
I definitely think the movie's gonna be better.
I hope so.
No way. This book was not it. It was not it. I was disappointed. Yeah. Honestly, it was a solid 2 up until the last 50 pages. She got bumped up to a 3, but otherwise this was.
But it's not the type of book I would recommend to anyone.
I would never recommend this to
a
single
there's
person.
Thrillers that I've read that were a lot better, a lot more interesting, and they kept me more intrigued the entire time.
I'm telling you, the death scene was so disappointing to me because it was literally, I didn't see her get stabbed. She has something glinting in her chest and there's blood on her shirt. Is she dead?
That?
And that was it. That was all of it. Like, everything built up into that moment, and then it was just nothing. So, maybe he did that on purpose, because if there was a lack of, like, details, then maybe we can doubt her more as a reader. Because we're like, what did she even see?
I think that was the point, because when the detective started even playing that, her call to the 911 operator, and he's like, she was slurring and not making sense, like, being drunk and everything, then I was like, okay, there's a little of a possibility that she imagined this whole thing.
No, I didn't. That would have been a great ending, though.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been a better plot twist. If she ended up imagining the whole thing and she really wrote that email to herself and took the picture of herself sleeping.
That would have been crazy.
What?
When she's got a picture of herself sleeping.
When it was in her camera roll. I was like, all right.
I would have started doubting my own self.
Yeah, she definitely
I would have put
did.
myself in a mental hospital at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that is the conclusion of our first ever book review with all of you. Thank you guys for watching and being here. Tomorrow, I think we're going to release what our next month's book is going to be.
September's book.
Yes.
If you don't already, make sure you follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube and the podcast app. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Modern Skeps. If you have any book suggestions for the upcoming books, we're honestly open to any suggestions. We're interested in any genre, I think, for the most part. So you can email us at themodernskeptics@gmail.com.
Our September's is going to be a classic, so.
Yes, about life. But you have
Even though we never read it.
That's true. But you have to tune in tomorrow to find out the new book. We hope you enjoyed hanging out with us this month, I guess, even though the book kind of wasn't up to par.
It was a flop. We're going to hope next month is even better.
Yes. But make sure that you do tune in tomorrow, find out the name, read the book, and then come back at the end of September for another book review.
Bye, guys.